Well, hi there. I just wanted to pop in and say that due to some issues with the video, this episode is going to be audio only. But you're sure to enjoy and profit from the incredibly valuable business lessons from today's guest.
You could make a very comfortable living just the popcorn business, working 1 day a week, but I want to grow myself financially in my retirement. Another thing about self-employed, we don't have a retirement, right? So you got to be smart about it and think about long-term game. I'll keep doing the markets as long as they'll let me.
Well, hi there, and welcome to Side Hustle Hero, the show that is laser focused to inspire you to take action to start or to scale your side hustle income streams. I'm your host, Joan Posavy, author of The Way Success Works. Yes, you heard him right. A comfortable living, working 1 day a week, selling popcorn. Today's guest, Jonathan Schuit, has been doing it now for years. He knows popcorn, but more importantly, he knows business. This episode is actually less about popcorn and more about learning from Jonathan what he looks for when considering a new business. There are so many words of wisdom packed into this episode, backed by specific examples, like when he describes how he increased revenues by 50% by making one small change, and then a year later, increasing revenues again by 50% by making yet another small change. And you could apply his ideas to so many side hustles. Recently in his travels, he noticed a vendor selling snow cones, essentially frozen water with a flavoring on top. He talks about it briefly here, but then after the interview, we kept talking and he walked me through the numbers. And I'm including that conversation at the end of this episode in the spot that I normally reserve for the wrap-up. The numbers are going to blow you away. Now here is my conversation with the savvy entrepreneur and popcorn guy, Jonathan Schuit. Well, welcome, Jonathan.
Thank you.
Well, I'm a huge fan of farmers markets, both from the consumer side, but also as a vendor. I think it's a great way to test out a product, hone your sales skills. I actually did it as a side hustle, and it was really profitable. What was your
Yeah.
introduction to the markets?
So my parents were actually beekeepers, and back probably close to 20 years ago, they always wholesaled their honey.
Okay.
And there was a big price drop where it's like they got pennies per pound. The wholesale prices were so low and such that basically they couldn't turn a profit.
Mm.
I had family members that did farmers markets and they sold fruits and vegetables there. And we ended up going to our local grocery store and just picked up some plastic little tubs that you put like salads and whatnot and filled them up with honey and took them to the market.
All right.
But hey, it worked. People bought it, and then we modified our process from there.
How old would you have been at the time?
Thinking back, I was probably like 11 or 12.
Okay.
And then we refined the process over the couple of years. And then we started to go into a market. And there was this guy there selling popcorn. And that's how I got into the popcorn business. I figured if I helped him clean up his garbage at the end of the day, he might give me a bag. And sure enough, he did.
Nice.
So ended this up by the end. I did that every Saturday. So I got a free bag of popcorn every Saturday, and I was ecstatic.
Okay, so this business owner of the popcorn, he was happy because he got essentially free labor. It just cost him a bag of popcorn. That was it.
Basically free labor, yeah. Yeah. And the next summer, I wanted to do the same thing. It's just a seasonal job. So his workers had long left. And so he offered me a job and he gave me $100 cash at the end of the day.
Really?
I think I was 13 at the time. And
Man.
I figured out how I'm going to spend all this money. So I helped him, I think, for about a year, 1 summer or 2 summers. It's going back quite a ways now, but he was using the popcorn business to fund his college and university. I think he's an engineer now. He's like, yeah, I'm going to be selling the business. And I told my dad, you got to buy this business because it's a pretty good business. And my dad thought there was no way you could make money on popcorn. And we went over the books and showed him the numbers. And I was 14 at the time. And
Okay.
I didn't have the money to buy the business, obviously. And so sure enough, my dad bought it. And then I ran it from this has got to be a few years. I ran it for him. And then my parents actually, they're semi-retired now and they immigrated to New Zealand.
Mm.
They moved there. That's when I bought the business off them.
Well, what caused you to want to buy it in the first place?
I'd see how much money the guy made.
Okay. So even back then at like age 14, 15, 16, you
Oh,
were
yeah,
crunching the numbers.
very much so. I grew up on a farm. Like I know stuff costs and Yeah, I was just always, I was with my dad everywhere he went. I went and seen how he did business, and I was pretty mature financially for even somebody that was really young. I eventually wanted the business for myself, so I figured this was a good way to make some extra money.
What a great intro. And there's actually a huge lesson wrapped up in there as well, just so that we
Yeah.
don't skim over it. Too often I hear people say, "Well, I would love to do something," but they say I can't because I don't have the money. Well, the money
Hmm.
isn't the root issue. And
Hmm.
the guy that got this business up and going with the popcorn to fund his way through university, through college, I mean, that's to me is a
Yeah.
brilliant example of that.
Yeah.
So many people
Yeah.
talk about can't afford to go to school, or I'm going to graduate with all this debt. If that's where your mindset is, yeah, but there are other examples of doing it a different way.
Quite often, starting a business, it doesn't take a huge amount of financial. Certain businesses, yes, but if you got enough drive and you're willing to do what it takes,
Yeah.
yeah, it can be done. Yeah, even if you got to utilize credit cards, I know that's not always a great option, but hey, if it's a means to an end short term, yeah, it's a great option.
And if you can see how it could move to profitability, yeah.
Exactly, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And in his case, so it provided him cash flow throughout his school years and then pay out when you bought it.
exactly,
Yeah. So
exactly.
how much did you pay for it? Do you remember?
It was 30,000 for the business.
Okay. So that would
Yeah,
have been obviously equipment, inventory.
yeah. There wasn't really much inventory. You buy a couple months supply, and that's that. It's pretty insignificant. It's mainly just a spot and basically the rights to sell it there. It would be worth a lot more now, but the business also didn't generate what it generates now either.
Right. Well, describe how that's set up then, because it's either different country to country, province or state, and or perhaps the size of the market. So are you saying that this is sort of almost like a piece that you lease that you can turn around and resell?
It's like gray area. It
Oh,
really
okay.
varies.
Okay.
At the market, it's an honor system. We've been there first, so they won't allow anybody else in there.
Selling
So
popcorn, you mean?
that's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
So if we didn't buy it off this guy, he would have to officially quit, and then we would be allowed to submit an application
Got it.
to hopefully get accepted. But there would probably be somebody else in front of us that already had one in line. If we didn't buy it off him, we couldn't get grandfathered in essentially.
So what was your motivation for buying it?
I wanted to buy stuff.
Okay.
I just wanted to make money. Honestly, I
And
didn't really have
popcorn.
any. Yeah, my parents, they sold the honey at the market, and I was bored. I went there to hang out, and obviously I didn't really make any money because I really wasn't doing anything much.
Right. But there was times that you were doing more than not much, because I don't know if you're aware of it, but there's a video out there online of you as a teenager attending the bees. And the thing that I really noticed, number one, your age, and you weren't wearing any kind of a beekeeper suit.
That's a very old video, actually. Yeah, that was a interview that we did. I forget with what news network it was, but
Right.
no, I wasn't wearing any protective gear because when the bees are honeybees are very different from any other type of bees, and people don't really realize that. They're very passive aggressive, if you want to call it that. They don't really attack you unless you're screwing with them.
Okay.
So, and if they're out collecting honey, that's the main focus that they're doing. So,
So just because you're standing there, you're not going to get stung necessarily.
exactly, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Cool.
If you go there and stand there in the evening, that's when you get stung. When the bees aren't doing, when they're not busy, then they'll go after you. But if they're busy doing their own thing, then they won't bother you.
Head down working, busy bees.
That's right.
Yeah. So you bought the business, and I would imagine there was some ideas rolling around in your mind of how you could increase sales.
Hmm.
Did you put some of those to work? What did that look like?
Oh yeah. So we bought the business. The guy had if I remember right, it was a $3 bag, a small, medium, and large. It was $3, $4, and $5.
Okay.
And so the market it starts off in the morning pretty quiet. Around lunchtime, it picks up, and towards the end of the day, it gets really busy. You get like lineups and stuff. So if you get behind, then you get a big lineup. And I realized that people are very much followers. So let's say one person bought a small bag. The 30 people in line behind them, they seen the person in front of them
Yeah.
a small bag. And literally everybody would buy a $3 bag.
Really?
So then the one day I decided to eliminate the $3 bag. So we just have a small and a large. Then they all bought the small bag again, but was the medium bag.
Right.
Instead of making $3, I was making $4.
Wow.
Very odd people, like one in a couple hundred complained about it, but it was very insignificant. But at the end of the day, they still bought the bag. And then I think the following year, I just said, you know what? Only larges from now on. We actually, then I, so I only had one size bag.
And what kind of pushback did you get on that, or how did it affect sales?
Virtually none, because once people see you making the popcorn, they smell it, they try a sample. If they have in their head, if they're going to buy a bag, whether it's $2, $3, $4, or $5, it's not an insignificant amount.
Beautiful example of that. I hate to say that, but that's me in line at the movies today. I mean,
Exactly.
it is
Yeah,
ridiculous what they
I
charge
know.
in the large theaters. And
Yeah,
it's like, seriously, for what the cost of this is? But you know
yeah.
what? I still buy the damn bag of popcorn because I don't
We
go
all
out that
do, and I'm,
often.
I'm guilty of it too. Like
Yeah.
we all do it. So I never wouldn't buy in large bags. So that almost doubled revenue just by eliminating two bag sizes, and it was
Wow.
easy.
Yeah.
When you have a lineup of people, if one person wants one size of bag versus another, and it just gets hectic, right? So it's a lot easier. We could actually produce more. The amount of people that we could process in an hour went higher. And then I actually wanted to raise the prices because sometimes people would buy two bags. So I raised the prices to $6 a bag and then two for 10. So again, people are followers. Everyone wants a deal at the locals farmers market, and the person at the front of the line but buys two bags. Everybody behind them buys two bags. It's like clockwork. So you have
Wow.
30 people spending $10 where they used to spend $3. So you can do the math, how much that adds up.
Really? That's
Yeah.
crazy, Jonathan. And is this year round you're there?
No, it's about 8 months of the year. It shuts down in the winter, unfortunately.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The market stays open, but no one goes. It's -10, -20. And to go hang out there is not and the volume of people is just, it's mainly a summer thing.
To be honest with you, I don't really see a downside. Like I used to be in the deli business and the flour business, so you're dealing with perishables. I had 2 or 3 days to,
Yep.
with popcorn, man.
So yeah, it's basically corn, oil, sugar, and salt, and none of them are really perishable items. Just keep them dry, and
Right.
yeah, everything has an expiry. But
Sure.
if I have a slow day, I just pack it up and pop it next weekend.
Right.
And it's you pop it as you need it, of course. Like, you don't pop it the day
Right.
before.
Yeah. And that's part of your,
It's part of the whole show, and it's the commotion, it's the noise that you're making there, and it's the smell, and
oh, the smell. Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Do you do that two prices, one for real butter and one for the fake stuff?
No, it's not even butter. It's just coconut oil. Yeah,
Okay.
because it's kettle corn. Yeah, there's no butter. There's no dairy actually in it.
Oh, it's caramel corn. It's not actual
Yeah,
like popcorn.
technical is kettle corn.
Okay. Like the
Yeah,
the stuff that has the brown coating on it, kind of.
yeah, it's
Is
like
that
that, but it's with white sugar, not caramel.
okay?
So basically, just white sugar, and then you pour that in the basically the oil, and
Hmm.
the corn pops. Then it basically puts a little glaze of sugar over it. Super
Right.
unhealthy, but hey, it's
Yeah.
great.
It's not like you're living off of it. Well, I mean, you are, but
Exactly.
not, you're not eating it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
Well, how many hours a week are you working on it?
I just do Saturdays now. Thursdays, I used to do them for a while. It was just really slow, and between my other business and this, I just can't do it all.
Because this is a side hustle for you. This is not your full time.
Yeah, my main business is I do residential construction. I do a lot of custom houses and stuff like that.
Right.
That's takes most of my attention.
Well, what's been your thinking about expanding into multiple locations for the popcorn business?
I've thought of it in depth a lot.
Okay.
It's just one of those things. I'm just swamped, and you can only do so much. That is something I'd like to do. What I'd like to do is actually franchise it and start putting into long term. You go to the gas station, buy a bag of chips. I'd like to start getting into that market because people ask me all the time, where can we buy this in the off season? Do you have a website? Truth is, I don't. I just haven't had time to set it
Right.
up. But I think if it's something I invested some time into, it could be very lucrative.
Right.
I do well now, but I don't think it has a cap on it. It's a great product and people love the product, and I just need to expand it.
Well, a good chunk of the flour business that I was involved in was
Yeah.
wholesale, and we
Yeah.
supplied a lot of the convenience stores, like
Mhm.
7-Eleven and Max Milk, with
Yeah.
those, 2, 3 wrapped
Yeah.
carnations, that kind of thing. And it was up to us and our drivers to go in and replenish the stock. So I guess you're thinking along the same lines as you would have some kind of a display that
Yeah,
then a driver
yeah,
would go around and stock them.
exactly. Yeah.
Huh.
It doesn't really have a limit on it,
Right.
but I just need to invest the time.
Well, maybe one of our listeners out there might step forward and make you a
Yeah, let me
proposition.
know. Let's figure something out.
Yeah. Well, you never know. So besides time, what's your biggest challenge in running the popcorn business, do you think?
I think time is the biggest one.
Yeah.
It's obviously a super easy business.
Yeah.
I go there the night before and I drop the trailer off, and it's in a 15-foot trailer. I drop the trailer off the night before just so it frees up my Saturday morning.
Okay.
I actually have workers that go there in the morning, set the business up, and then the first 3 hours, pretty much no one's buying popcorn. So that allows me to do a bit of running around actually for the construction business and get supplies for the week after. And
Yeah.
then I go right to the market after that. Or if I got to do paperwork or drop supplies off, or just allows me to 3, 4 hours in the morning to do running around. And then, yeah, I go do that till probably 4:30 on a Saturday. And then I pack it up. And
So you got somebody actually running and selling it in the morning while you're
that's
doing the
correct. Yeah.
running around. Okay. So
Yeah.
you've got a part-time staff person working with you.
Yeah. I get 2 Mennonite girls that help me out on Saturdays.
Okay.
Super happy to have them, honestly. They're actually great because sometimes if I need to take a full Saturday off in my slower season, I can do that.
Hmm.
I try not to do it too much because I like to be there myself and make
Right.
sure it's going good. So
Yeah, it gives you the ability to see what's happening in the market and people's, I guess, potential changes or like those opportunities that you saw.
yeah,
It's like,
yeah,
damn, why have we got three different size bags?
exactly. Yeah, and it's very inefficient. Back to the movie theaters. I haven't been in a couple of years, but the price difference between the small and the large is basically none. It's a small at the movie theater is pretty much the same price as a large. And
Oh, I
they
see. From the consumer standpoint, one might
yeah,
be $17 and the other 20 or something.
exactly. And they do that for a very specific reason because you do have that odd customer that wants some popcorn,
Okay.
but they just don't want a big bag and they don't care the price of the smaller bag. So that's why they have that option.
Mm,
But at the farmer's market, it doesn't matter as much because you're not carrying a drink and
right.
candies and popcorn.
Yeah. But you're having to set everything up Sunday and basically take everything back down again.
That's correct. Yeah, it's Saturday. Yeah.
Yeah.
This doesn't work for every business, but mine in particular, it's a business where people, they're walking by, they see the show, they see me making it, and it's smoky and it smells good. And we're giving out samples. They decide if they want one or not. But I actually don't have a big sign that lists price because people are,
Sorry, you do not have a sign that lists price?
no,
No.
I don't
Okay.
have a sign that says list the price because that encourages them to come and talk to me
Mm,
and ask me the price. Because once they come and talk to me, the battle's half won. They're already in front of the stand. Their kids are already there. They're ready to buy it. It might sound a bit sneaky, but they think their kids think they're already buying it. It's $5 or $10. They're going to buy it. So
and you do free samples, you said?
free samples. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's if they're already 50% sold by the
exactly.
time they step up, then it's
Exactly. Yeah.
over the line once you
Yeah.
extend that free
So
sample.
over the years, I've raised my prices, of course. Like I'm up to, I think it's $10 a bag now, but I do two for 15. So I really want $7, $8 a bag. And so the $10 a bag, I know that's a bit of a shock factor, but remember, they've already had a sample. They've already smelt it. They're already in front of my booth talking to me
Yeah.
or already stood in the line talking to me.
Hmm.
So they're pretty committed at that point. So they usually buy 2 bags now. I sell two for 15 now.
And that strategy, that understanding can apply to so many industries, so many businesses.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Once you have that interaction with the customer, the battle is half over. Pretty much anybody in sales will tell you that.
Yeah. I'm wondering if there are some startup expenses or maybe even ones down the road that someone might overlook when they're going to sell at the markets, not necessarily specific to popcorn, but selling at the markets in general.
Not really. A farmer's market's a unique business because you don't have to have a lease.
Right.
Depending on your business, you don't have to have insurance. For myself in particular, I do have to have insurance, but it's very insignificant because it's just liability insurance for 1 day a week.
Right.
So I don't have to sign a 5-year lease. I can go there, pay my whatever it is, X $50 to $100 a day, and it's really low overhead cost
Right.
versus a startup business in like a shopping mall or something. You have to sign a 5-year lease. And that's pretty intimidating if you don't even know if you're going to make any money.
Yeah.
And if you don't come through in the lease, then you got big problems. So
Or if you're shut down during COVID and you can't sell.
exactly. Yeah. So I think for somebody that wants to start a business, I think farmers market is a great way to test out a product.
Hmm.
To even if they don't sell, even if it's not a farmers market really style product to sell,
Okay.
but if you could at least talk to people and get people's reactions, I think it's a very cheap, inexpensive way to even get some data,
Yes. Yeah.
because you could talk to thousands of people in a day versus if you had a location in a shopping mall,
Hmm.
there's just no way you could get that much traffic through your stand.
Yeah. That's such a low
So
cost too, unless you were just standing out on a
exactly,
street
yeah,
corner. But at least for the markets, you're expecting them to come and talk to
exactly,
you. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
And it's interesting. I did an interview recently with someone who started in the farmers markets as well. They make dips out of cashews, and it tastes like cream cheese. It's so good. But
yeah,
she literally she didn't even have a car then. It was this cargo bicycle that she was using to get back and forth to the markets.
yeah, yeah.
And now they've got a 20,000 foot square warehouse. They're doing $3 million a year in sales. And Jonathan, they're still doing the markets.
Yep.
I still see them on the markets because
Yep.
of all the things that we just mentioned. You're
Yep.
one-on-one with the customers, you get the feedback, you get the free samples.
Yep. There's a guy I follow on Instagram. I forget his handle right now at this moment, but they do hot sauces and they started at the local farmers market, and they are a multi-million dollar business now and they ship all over the world.
Right.
They literally start at markets.
Nice.
It's basically what I want to take the popcorn business to. I just got to invest the time into it, like I said.
Great. Yeah. And I
But
find when we're focused on an end result like that,
yeah,
bit by bit, those opportunities, those next steps are shown.
yeah, yeah,
Person, the place, the circumstance shows up
yeah.
to help us to get that next
And
step.
it's not all easy either, because like the farmers market, it's an early thing. So I have to be set up ready to sell by 7 a.m. on a Saturday.
Wow.
So that means I need to be there at 6 a.m. That means I need to live about an hour from there. So I need to be leaving my house at 5 a.m. And then I usually don't get home until 6:30. So it's a long day. It really is. And it's a Saturday. So you literally give up half of your weekend.
Right.
And Sunday's pretty much shot because you're dead tired.
Right. Even though it is a relatively simplistic business, you'd still
Yeah.
have the accounting and the bookkeeping and
Oh, for
ordering
sure.
more
That's all on top
complicated.
of this all.
Yes.
Yeah.
A lot of people on the outside looking in, if they haven't run a business, they don't always get that. It's
Oh,
not just the day at the market. It's all the prep. It's loading the cargo trailer.
yeah.
It's going to the
Yeah.
bank. It's talking to the lenders. There's just so much
Yeah.
going on.
Don't let that intimidate people from starting
Oh,
though.
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. If it does work out, it's pretty worth it.
For you to be doing it for this many years, as well as doing the construction full time, there's got to be enough of an upside and an enjoyment factor too, I would imagine, to keep doing it.
I started the construction because I had nothing to do during the 5 days a week,
Okay.
Monday through Friday. And I don't have to do that either.
Right.
You could make a very comfortable living,
Hmm.
just the popcorn business, working 1 day a week. But
Right.
I want to grow myself financially and my retirement. Another
Right.
thing about self-employed, we don't have a retirement, right? So
Yes. No pension. No.
that's on us. So you got to be smart about it and think about the future, long-term game. I think I'll keep doing the markets as long as they'll let me.
Nice. Over the years, you've no doubt seen vendors come and go at the market.
Yeah.
What are some maybe do's and don'ts about selling at the markets? Best practices of the successful ones, or mistakes that you see for people that don't make it?
People that don't make it are, in all honesty, are people that quilt stuff or paint stuff and arts and crafts. It's
Okay.
you can't make money at it. There's not enough profit margin. There's not enough. Yeah, you spent 8 hours quilting this blanket or whatever, washcloth, or no one wants it. You got to find a product that is cheap to make, that has a high profit margin, because if I'm operating at a 30% profit, I'd have to make a lot more than I do now. I'm sure you can imagine how cheap popcorn is to make. It's basically not much cost to it.
Right.
If I'm selling a $10 bag and I was only making $2 or $3 a bag, figure out how many bags you would have to produce every day to make it all worth your time.
Right.
Yeah, it might be, you might have 1 or 2 days a year. It might be worth it, but it's most of the time you're going to be operating at a, net zero.
Right.
So I see a lot of these people, they think of these cute ideas and they think they're going to sell a few items and it just never works out. And these people come and go.
Right. Actually, with those examples that you use too, there's some great online platforms that they could use and leverage their time way better than.
Exactly. If you want to make those arts and crafts, build them and sell them online, because those people just aren't at farmers. From my experience, every market's different too.
Yeah.
I will say that every market is different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good lesson too in seeing what the market is looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And I would imagine even talking to the people that are actually running the farmers market, what they see as sold well or hasn't.
Yeah, like there's this guy selling these steak sandwiches, and there were these healthy sandwiches, and they were great. Honestly, they were great. I think they were like $12 or something. But he did it for 2 months, and he left because they're just, yeah, it's a great product. It's a steak sandwich. It's got a big chunk of meat in it, but that big chunk of meat is expensive.
Right.
So his profit margins were slim.
Right.
200-300 sandwiches in a day, I made this much money. But time you buy everything, and you got to crush the numbers.
For sure. When I had the delicatessen, I mean, we had a small markup on things like slice and roast beef or chicken, but it was the things that we added value to, like making the take-home pizzas.
Exactly.
Those types of things. And frozen yogurt machines. There was a really nice markup in that.
Oh yeah, I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, that was a very good one.
Really?
And we were the first in town with it as well. So
Yeah.
it was the talk of the town.
Another thing that I've seen a guy, he had this cute little John Deere ice cream maker.
Whoa, a John Deere ice cream maker?
It's painted up like a John Deere. It's like steam powered, and it's like this old fashioned ice cream maker.
John Deere tractor, just for someone who's not familiar with. Yeah.
For sure, yeah. So you have this old fashioned contraption, makes all kinds of noise. Yeah, it looks attractive, but it takes 20 minutes to make 5 ice cream cones. Do the math. You're charging $5-6 for an ice cream cone.
Right.
If you started at 7 a.m. till 4 p.m., you had a lineup of people. How many ice cream cones can you produce in this time period?
Right.
That works, but the thing is, the market, people don't start buying ice cream at 7 a.m.
Right.
They start buying ice cream at 11 a.m. and till 3 o'clock, and then they want to go home.
And if it's a cold and rainy day,
they don't make anything.
No.
I will say what would work, which I wanted to do, but there's other people at the market already doing it, is a lemonade stand. It's super cheap to start.
Okay.
You can buy bulk lemons for next to nothing, and it's water. It's distilled water and ice. Throw a couple strawberries and blueberries in the drink, and
right.
They charge a fortune for flavored water.
Wow.
It's literally a license to print money. If you're in an area that there's a high volume of people, and you can advertise fresh squeezed lemonade, and yeah, I would totally do that if there wasn't already somebody there. But I would say that business is as good or better than mine. Because with that business, you need a lemon squeezer.
Right.
You need a lemon squeezer, and you need a tent and a table and some ice.
Right. That's a good exercise for someone to go through the markets and just consider all these things that we've been talking about as far as cost of the equipment, the cost of the inventory. What's the upside? What's the downside? Do some number crunching.
Yeah. I was actually just in Reno at a big air show there, and they had this trailer. And there's another thing I want to try that no one does this yet. And they make snow cones, and they're charging like $10 for a snow cone.
Really? Wow.
But they allow you to put the sauce on it. So you think you're getting a great deal because you're squeezing the heck out of the sauce thing. But yeah, people like to interact with stuff.
Yeah.
And this guy had a lineup, and literally all he's doing is filling a cup up with shaved ice, and you give him $8 or $10 for it. It was a ripoff, but lineup to, yeah.
That's crazy.
A revolving lineup. Selling frozen water.
Right.
Yeah.
Huh. And that's one of the things I love about traveling is being exposed to different things that aren't happening in our neighborhood.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. And that was the case actually with the frozen yogurt machine. It was actually a trade show that I saw it
Yeah.
at.
Yeah.
And they were just coming out at the time, and we thought, oh, this would be a great idea. But yes, I would go into delicatessens anytime that I was traveling
Yeah.
to look for ideas. What are people doing differently
Yeah.
that I haven't thought of yet?
I would have never have got into the popcorn business if I stayed on the farm. My parents never went to sell honey at the market. Somebody came up and told me that, hey, there's a market an hour and a half away that you could make some popcorn and sell. I'd be like, you're crazy. You'd have to see it to believe it.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
And having that guidance is so important too, that it was
Yeah.
even on your radar, like to have that instilled early
Yeah.
on for you. So awesome. So hats off to your parents.
Yeah. There's so many businesses that they're proven to work. You don't have to reinvent the wheel with this stuff.
Hmm.
You don't have to create a new invention to make money. Sometimes you just need to copy somebody else.
That's right. Yeah.
Copy and paste in a different location and it will probably work.
So what's your best tip, Jonathan, to inspire others to start or grow their side hustle dream?
Just start and then just keep going till it works. I know it sounds cliche, but don't give up. There's a lot of millionaires that could have given up many times and they didn't.
That's so true.
There's usually more failures than success stories. And you just got to find what works for you, what works
Mhm.
for your area, whether it's a market or really anything. And pretty much anything with a lot of persistence and hard work will eventually work out. That's another point I wanted to say that I see these people that go to the market and start a business and they got a bad product and they're like, but they think that it's a great product and they believe in the product and they're not making money. And they'll go a couple of years not making money, but they're like, someday it might get better. But if you can't make money, obviously in a reasonable amount of time, you're never going to make it. So you have to change the business or how you're doing things, or don't expect to make money in your first day there.
Right.
Technically, I could set my popcorn up at any big population center. If there's people there, I'll make money.
Hmm. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jonathan, for sharing your popcorn story and
Yeah,
your insights in running a part-time business and for being today's side hustle hero.
no problem at all. It's my pleasure.
As promised, the following is an excerpt from my post-interview conversation with Jonathan.
We both bought a snow cone. I think it was $8 or $10 US. It was ridiculous,
Man,
but you should have seen the lineup. And I'm like looking into it. I want to start.
right. I'm really surprised it goes because it's just like this chemical that you're putting on top, right? I mean, it's not even real food.
It's selling frozen water. I look at this guy. He had a cute little like bubble trailer with his AC in there and his debit machine, and
Yeah.
it was just a machine with an electrical motor on it that shaved this big block of ice, or not even a block. He just threw crushed ice in there, and he had a freeze behind it.
Yeah.
I could set this thing up for 5-10 grand.
And I guess there really isn't a guideline as far as how long something would need to pay you back over. It would really just depend on the person's preferences as well. Like just if it just lets you use a figure of 5 grand for the snow cone machine. How many of those do you have to sell for the payback?
I looked at what Buddy was making in Reno, and I think you could pay for this whole setup in a weekend.
What?
The guy was making, I know the numbers,
Sure.
because my price point is similar to his.
Hmm.
And when I have a lineup, what I can make in an hour
Right.
is he could easily do that or more, because his is a faster turnover because he's getting a customer every 60 seconds, 80 seconds. Oh, she have a calculator here. I think it was $8 US. That's $10 Canadian for easy numbers
Sure. Yeah.
times. Let's do $8. Let's go really conservative. Okay.
Okay.
$8 times, let's say 50 customers an hour equals, and times 10 hours, because the show went, that's probably, yeah, it's $4,000 in a day.
Wow.
So even at the farmer's market, let's say I don't start selling snow cones until, 10, 30, 11,
Right.
and I go till 4.
Right.
That's 5 hours. I can do $400 an hour for 5 hours. That's $2,000.
And that show at Reno, how many days was it?
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 5 days.
Wow.
So yeah, he would have made $20,000 in 5 days. One employee.
Wow. 99 people out of 100 would walk by there and just see the snow cone.
Yeah.
But you're like, ka-ching.
I walk around and I look. So many businesses don't take a lot of money to make money, and people don't realize that. I got a friend. He does a landscaping business. He's got an old pickup truck, an old trailer, and a lawnmower and a weed whacker, and he makes more money than pretty much all my friends that have cool jobs.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, like you said with the garbage collecting thing, it's not very sexy, but
Right.
I like being able to buy stuff and have money in the bank and grow financially.
And that particular industry, there seems to be a demand because there's been a couple of locations when I've tried to hire people to do that kind of work and they're hard to find. And the last person I hired, it's like, you're charging me how much? It was crazy.
The trip that we went out to Reno, the money that I made on Saturday paid for that whole trip.
I love that. Very cool. I hope this episode has provided you with some light bulb moments that you can apply to your situation, whether you're looking at tweaking your side hustle to increase profit, scaling it, or starting a brand new venture. It's kind of fun to do the number crunching. Let me know what you think. Well, that's a wrap for today. You'll find the full show notes at our website, sidehustlehero.com. If you're enjoying what you're hearing in this podcast, I'd be so grateful if you would take a moment and leave a review and a 5-star rating at the platform where you're listening to let others know that there's valuable content here to help them start or grow their side hustle. And reach out to me anytime. You can send a DM on Instagram @JoanPosivy or shoot me an email to hello@joanposivy.com. Thanks for listening and hustle on.